Welcome to a Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and continuing my J.G. Ballard series as promised. I got some more stories to get through before we can get to The Drowned World, which I'm supposed to start reading pretty soon so we can shoot our video mid-December, and then, well, the video won't go up until, I think, January, but I still got to shoot it before then. Because Emily and I have busy schedules, especially Emily, we typically do shoot way in advance. And the short stories I do by myself like this, a lot of times I don't shoot too far in advance. Sometimes I'm only shooting a couple days in advance. But what I'm trying to do with those is get further in advance, mainly so that I have more time for reading. If I'm way ahead on my videos, on reading for my video schedule, then I can start cramming in other things to read, as well as longer things. And these short stories, a lot of times I can read and shoot 5 or 6 of these things on a Saturday. Easy. And that's a whole week or sometimes more than a week worth of content. Anyway, the Ballard at hand is The Watchtowers. And it is the 30th on my list of J.G. Ballard stories. It is a novelette. It was originally published in Science Fantasy magazine in the June 1962 issue. And I do not have a copy of that magazine. I have seen it online as a PDF. I read it. Well, I have it in Chronopolis and other stories, which I've shown you before. But I actually read the story in my usual source, Complete Short Stories of J.G. Ballard, my J.G. Ballard Bible, and currently my very favorite book in my collection. I'm loving it. I'm just loving all these stories, and this story is no exception. The Watchtowers centers around a guy named Renthal, something like that. Renthall. Looks like Renthal, but it could be Renthal. Not sure. Anyway, he lives in this town, and it's not specified where this town is. It's not specified that this is Peoria, Illinois, or something like that. The name of the town is not given. It's kind of suggested the town isn't all that big, really. It's not like New York City. It's a smaller town. And it seems to be in a Western culture, either England or United States or maybe Canada or Australia. But at any rate, just from the things that are talked about, it seems to be an English culture society, which of course can include the United States of America. But you don't know. Now, all around the perimeter of this city, and that's why I think the city is quite small, because there's no place you can go in this place that isn't under the shadow of them. You have these tall watchtowers, and people can see, there's like a little building it's like watchtowers at a concentration camp, which I think is where this is coming from, because Ballard did spend time growing up in an internment camp in China where the Japanese soldiers rounded people up and stuffed them in. So that's probably where the image of these watchtowers is coming from, because they would have had guard towers placed around the camp where the guards would be watching the prisoners and making sure nothing bad is going on, as well as watching out around the camp to make sure nobody's coming and trying to rescue anybody. Okay, so that's probably where Ballard is drawing upon for this story. But the town has these watchtowers, and there are the the townspeople. One of their favorite pastimes is to sit and watch the people in the windows of the watchtowers because they can see them moving in there, or sometimes there's no movement in there, and so then the townspeople are always speculating what that might mean if they're not seeing movement or if they start seeing movement. Well, Renthal comes up with the idea that instead of everybody just always sitting around watching the watchtowers, they should have a party. Well, there's a council that's kind of in charge of the town, and the council is supposedly in communication with the watchtowers. And Renthal wants to do this, and he wants to have this party outside because he knows the council will object, and he wants to test the council to see if he can catch them, trap them into admitting that they aren't actually talking to the watchtowers. So that's really his true motive here. He doesn't really want to have a party because he knows it's not really okay. And everybody, including him, is expecting that if they actually did a party, that people would come down from the watchtowers and take action against them, punish them. But at no time in this story does anybody actually come down from the watchtowers. At no time in this story do the watchtowers actually take any action against any part of this town. But then the other townspeople start going ahead and actually putting things together for the party, setting things up outside and sending invitations around without, it was Renthal's idea, but they're going ahead without him and doing this. And all of a sudden, there's a shift in the story where Renthal is talking to the people and they're going, "What watchtowers?" They don't even realize the watchtowers are there. And so, of course, they have no fear then of any kind of retribution from anybody coming from the watchtowers. And so this is where Renthal starts to get paranoid, very paranoid. And the whole story is told from his perspective. So you're being taken kind of through this journey of paranoia with Renthal. And spoiler alert, in the end, you're left wondering if Renthal is crazy, if the townspeople are being somehow controlled or hypnotized, and if Renthal is in, or if Renthal is in some kind of experiment that the watchtowers are putting on. If you've seen the movie The Truman Show, the idea here has a lot of similarities with that, except this gets a lot more surreal and does not give you any definitive answers to what's going on. It just kind of, you have the feeling at the end of the story like you're in the middle of some paranoid fantasy. And that's the best you're going to get out of it. But you don't know if it's a paranoid fantasy or if Renthal is responding to real things or if the people are being hypnotized or if everything is just crazy or if the watchtowers are even there. you know? Brilliant, brilliant story. Just amazing with the usual high quality of J.G. Ballard writing. Maybe not as poetic as like Cage of Sand in its descriptions, but still amazing quality of writing. Excellent characterization, excellently builds through this weird plot. And it has a profound effect on you as a reader going through it and going, hey, wait a minute, really, really throwing you, really confusing you the way Renthal is being confused. So this is definitely another top tale for J.G. Ballard. Was there any doubt? He's always been high on my list of authors But I have to admit, aside from Chronopolis and other stories, and some of the stories like Myths of the Near Future that were published in the magazines, in the U.S. magazines in the 1980s, I hadn't read much of Ballard. Probably a good 75% of his bibliography I had never read. And as I'm touching on the rest of that bibliography, I'm just becoming more and more mind blown by just how good he is. This is as good as it gets. This story is highly recommended. Kind of, I haven't read his later works like High Rise or Concrete Island, but I'm aware of what kinds of stories they are. And this story, to me, seems like this is Ballard starting to move in that direction, just like Cage of Sand was kind of moving in the direction of stories like Myths of the Near Future. This story seems to be moving towards the stories like Crash and High Rise and Concrete Island that he wrote in the 1970s. So we're seeing groundwork laid for some of Ballard's most famous books in the stories he published in 1962. Highly recommended. Everyone should just go out and read this story. I know some people won't like this kind of literary surrealistic kind of thing, but that's fine. Everybody who likes the more literate kinds of things, everybody who likes the more intelligent and more advanced writing that you get with the new wave fiction, you should make sure and read The Watchtowers. It's an excellent story. So it's that time. Have you ever read The Watchtowers? I want your perspective on this. I want your comments about The Watchtowers, about J.G. Ballard, about new wave science fiction, not anything else really. And I hope you'll like this video, subscribe to our channel, and come on back for a lot more Ballard. Still in 1962, we got a long way to go here. The next story will be The Man on the 99th Floor. I hope you'll join me for that and all the other J.G. Ballard and all the other authors that I talked about here in Telltale Books.